Guys, Amplified Q&A, my favorite day of the week, where I answer your guys' questions. We get to interact for a bit. This is probably most likely going to go near another hour of me running my mouth about pro wrestling, but as long as you guys enjoy it, man, you know I love it. So, yeah, this is going to go almost another hour, so let's have some fun, man. This is going to revolve around one main question, guys. This is the question I've been getting from numerous people, so I'm just going to put it in this one video. This video will be about one question, but it's a lengthy answer. It's going to take up a lot of this video, and that is the Superstar Shakeup. Which superstars you guys want to know would I bring over from SmackDown to Raw, and vice versa, Raw over to SmackDown? What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you guys 10 names from each brand. 10 SmackDown stars, 5 heels, 5 faces, that I would bring from SmackDown to Raw. And I'm going to choose 10 names on Raw, 5 heels, 5 faces, and I'm going to bring them over to SmackDown. And I'm going to give you guys some storyline with it. I'm going to tell you why I'm picking these names. I'm not just going to pick names just for the fuck of it. There's going to be meaning behind it, because you guys know how I work on this channel. I'm a creative motherfucker. I love creating storylines. I love creating and booking for the future. So if I'm picking a name, it's because I have something for them. So when you hear me call out a name, I'm going to have some cool booking with it. So that's 20 names in all I have that are going to be being moved around. These are not predictions, just like my amplified booking. I want to make that clear. These are not predictions. This is if I'm booking the Shakeup, who would I have moving where? Before I hit that, guys, I just have a few topic points that I want to address. Some things I want to talk about. Just a minute on each. Just about 3 items. First thing I want to say is about Rusev. If you don't know now, it just broke out in the last hour. By the time this video goes up, maybe a few hours, but it was literally within the last hour we heard this news. And that is that Rusev is no longer in the casket match against The Undertaker April 27th in Saudi Arabia for the greatest Royal Rumble ever. And if you didn't know about that, that was a true thing. Vince McMahon booked The Undertaker to go against Rusev in a casket match, April 27th. The greatest Royal Rumble ever. It's on the WWE Network. I believe it's going to be Friday, April 27th at 12 noon, if you're in America. That's our time slot anyway. East Coast, I believe. That's all I'm concerned about, man, here in New York. My East Coast time. I believe I'm going to catch that at 12 p.m. So that's an odd time. But Vince McMahon was literally trolling Rusev Day, fans and Rusev, because everybody was saying Rusev's being buried and this and that. So Vince McMahon was literally, almost, going to have him buried by putting him in the casket. So evidently there was outrage over this in the last 24 hours, because in the last hour, Rusev, WWE.com, broke the news that Rusev is no longer in this match. Chris Jericho is now going to take on The Undertaker. I believe it's still a casket match, and that's going to be, again, April 27th, that Friday, in a couple of weeks, and Chris Jericho is taking the place of Rusev. Chris Jericho was supposed to be on that event, guys. Chris Jericho was going to be a part of the 50 participants in this greatest Royal Rumble. So we don't know if Chris Jericho is no longer going to be in the Royal Rumble, or if he's pulling double duty. Is he going to do the casket match and the Rumble? But if that's the case, if you get put in the casket, can you really enter the Rumble now? Because that's just silly. Because now it's fucking like you just got put in a fucking casket. And then what? You went to the back, you popped out of the casket like, surprise! Rumble time! That's not realistic. It's not believable. I don't want to see somebody just get buried into a casket and then all of a sudden pop up 30 minutes later. I think what they'll just do here is a switch. Chris Jericho does the match, and then or the casket match. Even if it wasn't a casket match, he does the Undertaker, and then you just have Rusev take his place in the 50-man Battle Royal Rumble. Anyway, that's a lot of fucking... This is WWE. If they just didn't try to troll people to begin with, Rusev had no business being in a casket match with The Undertaker, other than just to troll us. So if Vince McMahon spent less time trying to troll us, he wouldn't have to do fucking recovery projects. Because this is just a recovery project. He went into panic mode because there was outrage. Oh, Vince, what the fuck are you doing? Rusev is literally going to be buried now, and fans got pissed off. So now Vince is like, all right, you're right. This is not a good idea. We shouldn't be trolling people and actually burying Rusev. So now Chris Jericho's got to take it. It's damage control is what I call it. This is damage control. And I love how they did this. Love or hate how they did this. I'll say love, but I'm being kind of sarcastic with that. They fucking have Lana tweeting out that she doesn't think this is a good idea for Rusev to be, my husband, Rusev is what she's saying, to be in a casket match because it's not good for all the boys and girls that celebrate Rusev Day. So Lana is saying basically she's not allowing her husband to perform in that match. So they tried to make this into a storyline with Lana having concerns with Rusev being in there because, excuse me, I'm getting choked up about this. We need to celebrate Rusev Day, man. She feels like this is not the best way to celebrate Rusev Day. So, I'll shut up about it, guys, but that's the breaking news in the last hour. Rusev is no longer in that casket match. It'll be Chris Jericho who will be getting buried into that casket. April 27th. Another piece of news, guys, before I get to the Shakeup, the Superstar Shakeup. And that is Jerry Lawler. He just announced on his, not announced, not like it's a special occasion, but he did come out and say that on his podcast that he recently had a stroke a few weeks ago, before WrestleMania. And that for like several days he couldn't even talk to his wife, and so it was bad enough. But then like one morning he woke up and he was able to go about his regular daily activities, man. He was even able to wrestle again. And so that's what he did. He had a stroke and he ended up wrestling several days later. And this brought out the negative Nancy's, right? And all the Debbie Downers and all the people that tell people how to live their life. And I know they think they're being helpful. They think that their concern will hopefully wake up the individual that they're trying to tell how to live their life. And again, they think they're being helpful. All the people that came out now, Jerry, give it up, Jerry. It's not worth your life, man. Jerry, you need to relax. You need to calm down, Jerry. Jerry, just hang up the boots. These people amaze me because how can you tell somebody how to live their life? I understand you think you're being helpful, but take a step back and realize that that is how he wants to live his life. That's what he is most passionate about. You can be passionate about your personal life and your wife and your kids, but that doesn't have to be your whole life. It doesn't have to be. Some people have passions and these needs that have to be filled that are outside of just their personal life, that are outside of their family. That doesn't mean they're being not caring enough. That doesn't mean they're being irresponsible. It means that that is what they need to live life. I wish people would see that. It's like when people don't want to have kids, and people that have kids think that that's the only way you can live life. We're here for one purpose as adults. We have kids, and they have kids, and it's generation to generation. You keep the name going in life. So when they see couples that are in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, 50s that don't have kids, they feel that it's okay to go up to them and be like, when are you having kids? It's the best thing in the world. Why aren't you having them? Maybe they don't want to have kids. Maybe that's not their life. Maybe that's not how they want to live life. And even if you have kids, maybe that's not their whole world. It's not being irresponsible. It's not being caring. They have this void in them. And it can only be filled when they're doing what they're most passionate and what they love the most. For Jerry Lawler and for a lot of wrestlers like Jerry Lawler, pro wrestling is that void that needs to be filled in them. That is how they truly live. So while all of you guys think you're being helpful and caring, and you're trying to help Jerry Lawler and people like Jerry Lawler, while you're trying to help them not die, Jerry Lawler is trying to live his life. You're trying to help him not die. He's trying to live. Big difference. We live in a world where I would say 99% of society is in their little comfort zone. And they try everything they do to live a little bit longer, to try not to get hurt. And other people, there is that small niche, guys, believe it or not, here's a crazy concept, that is out there taking risks, that is out there taking chances, that don't want to be confined in this little bubble, confined in a comfort zone. They're living life. You're trying not to die. That's fine. Other people are trying to live. You can go your whole life trying not to die, or you can go your life trying to live. It's like a fucking... People think that living longer is necessarily a better life. Not the case. The Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, dying when they're 50 years old. Half of 100, right? I think a human being can hope to live 100 years is what the saying is, right? Well, those are two people that live 50, but I guarantee you, Savage and Ultimate Warrior live more of a passionate, fueled life than 99% of the people I know in this world today will ever live. But that's only half a life, right? It was way more full than anybody I fucking know. Because they lived it balls to the wall, everything they had. Because what's the alternative? You can live that 100 years, mediocre or below, and say what? At least I was on the planet. I took more breaths. But did you truly live? What's your legacy? How many times did you step out of your comfort zone? How many risks and chances did you take? If that's what you want, that is awesome. 100 years on this earth. Congrats if you make it, and good luck with that. There's people like Jerry Lawler that not want to, but are okay if they go out in that ring. Because they went out on their terms. They went out doing it their way. They went out doing what they love the most. People tell me all the time on this channel, BC, you're gonna have to calm down. You're gonna have a heart attack one day. Who the fuck cares? I mean, obviously we all care. Thank you guys. You guys care and I care. I shouldn't say that. I'll take that back. We all care, but that is my passion. Pro wrestling is what I love, and I'm always going to be this passionate. I do so many things outside of these videos, and I'm just as passionate. When I'm acting, I'm just as passionate. In my writing, 1,000 times during my writing sessions, I'm getting out of my fucking seat, and I'm pacing back and forth, and these ideas are flowing, and I'm really passionate. Everything I do in this life is passion. The movie that I'm making, Tyler's Day 30, whether I'm directing it or whether I'm fucking doing the acting in it. And I'm sure when I'm editing and doing the producing and all that shit, in the marketing, in the distribution, it's going to be passionate balls to the wall. Sure, one day I might have that fucking heart attack, but you can damn well bet I did it my way. I went out doing what I love the most. Instead of toning it down and trying to squeeze out another 10, 15, maybe 20 years out of my fucking nice, comfortable little life. That's awesome. You want to help Jerry Lawler and people like that out and say, hang up the boots, man. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it to who? You don't know the void that he has in him. That's what he loves. Living and breathing go hand in hand with wrestling to him. There's a reason he's still, and for those of you that don't know, it's because he wrestles still down in Memphis and down in other territories, just not on WWE TV. But on his off time, he's always wrestling still. I think he actually said on his podcast, he's wrestled over 500 matches since his heart attack on WWE Raw. Over 500 matches, and I think it's fucking awesome. You can never tell somebody how to live their fucking life. I know you think you're trying to be helpful and caring. You live one life. You only get one. You have to do what you want, what you're passionate about, what you fucking love. So anyway, Jerry Lawler, I see all these fucking tweets and all these things and articles, and everyone's telling Jerry Lawler how to live his life again, man. He can still go in there and drop that big fist from the second turnbuckle, man. And as long as he can do that, that's awesome. It's no harm, no foul. He's not trying to go in there and put on 5-star classics. He's not going in there and having half-an-hour matches and taking up the time from the younger talent. No. Wrestling is built on nostalgia. A big part of pro wrestling is nostalgia. The superstars we loved from back in the day. And seeing our heroes, our legends, still rocking today. That's a part of the fun. The same people that said Undertaker shouldn't have came back this year. Well, he went in there. He was bouncing off those ropes like a 30-year-old. He was walking the fucking ropes like he's 20-year-old. Like a fucking 20-year-old. Walking the fucking ropes. Like he did in his 20s. If it was up to you guys, we wouldn't have seen The Undertaker this year. I wanted to see him. It was cool. It was awesome. It was a WrestleMania moment. Thank God he didn't listen to a lot of you guys, man. And by you guys, I mean the people that are trying to tell all of these older superstars, pack it in, man. You just don't know when to give it up. I'm glad they don't. We get to see them doing what they love. That's so fucking cool, man. I hope you guys never get to a point in your life where somebody's telling you to hang something up or stop doing something. I hope you don't have people like that in your life going forward, man. I really don't, because you need to do what you want to do. Life goes by like that, guys. You think it's really long, I understand. Even if you live that 100 years that you want to fucking see, that 100 years will fly too. 50 or 100, 200, 500 years goes by in a blink of an eye. Trust me. It's how you live those years. How meaningful were they? What did you do? Did you do what you love? Were you passionate enough? Or did you just skate by? Did you just live, or did you live fully? Did you live a life, or did you live a full life? That's all I'll say about that, man. I don't know, guys. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest, because I just saw this whole Jerry Lawler thing pop up, and everybody's trying to tell him to hang it up, and it's just like, what don't you understand? You told him that 5 years ago. You're telling him that now. You'll tell him that in 5 years. The guy loves doing this. This is the biggest part of his life. He has the most fun, the most excited, and he's the most passionate. He loves going out there. He's not harming anyone else. You would say but himself. But he doesn't need you telling him to hang it up. Some people want to live, man. And sometimes that means risks and chances. He's an adult. He knows the fucking risks. He knows the chances. If it's a fucking child, then yes. Your helpful comments will help the child because he needs it. He's not fully grown yet. Not mentally anyway. But if he's an adult in his 50s, 60s, 70s, let him be. Mae Young was taking table shots at 77 years old. I'm sure she had it to do over again. She'd do it all over again. One last piece of business, guys. Mauro Ranallo. WWE.com put up a video of Mauro Ranallo calling NXT TakeOver last Saturday night. And it is one of the best things I've ever fucking seen, and at least in a long time. It's a camera set up throughout the entire night of action at NXT TakeOver. And the camera was just on Mauro Ranallo. Well, the whole commentary team, but Mauro Ranallo was the star. And it was just several minutes of Mauro Ranallo just going absolutely haywire. Passionate as fuck. We talk about passion. Mauro Ranallo, you guys have to see this. I don't know what you would type in. WWE.com on YouTube. Or YouTube. And just go to Mauro Ranallo NXT TakeOver commentary. Maybe it'll pop up. But, or check out my fucking Twitter, because I put up a fucking little video as well. But it is fucking dynamite. Mauro Ranallo, this is why we love this guy. And I put this in a tweet as well. This is why we love Mauro Ranallo. And I told him thank you. He is the GOAT when it comes to broadcasters right now, commentary team, because there's nothing like that passion. It is so infectious. It is so contagious. And it reaches the audience. What Jim Ross was to the Attitude Era, that is what Mauro Ranallo is now doing for the NXT era. And WWE dropped the ball when they let go of Mauro Ranallo. Luckily, Triple H brought him on NXT because this is some of the best commentary. That you see the passion. He stands up. He flips out. He gets all into it, man. You guys have to see this shit. And big thanks to Mauro Ranallo. He actually retweeted that tweet. My tweet that I had sent out. He saw it and he retweeted it to his bigger WWE NXT audience. And that little tweet that I sent out has thousands of views now. So thank you, Mauro Ranallo, for getting some more eyeballs over to that tweet. I'm glad you liked it enough to retweet it. And so you guys have to see this video, man. Mauro Ranallo, a camera on him the entire night, and him calling the action. It is unlike anything. If you don't have goosebumps watching him watch that, then you got to check your pulse, brother. Unfucking real. Thank you guys for allowing me that whole fucking, although those topics, I had to get out the Jericho switching places with Rusev. I had to get out my thoughts on the Jerry Lawler stroke situation. And we wish Jerry Lawler all the best going forward as well. And even more matches in the future. Because we know you got it in the tank, buddy. Go out there and drop those fists from the second rope. And more Ronaldo. I had to talk about that video as well in case you guys didn't see it. So thank you for letting me get all of that off my chest. Now, BC timestamp, man. We wanted to hear about the shakeup. Timestamp, BC. I got your timestamp. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Fuck you. We don't timestamp. One motherfucker, I tell you, what'd he say? Fucking, there was a video a few videos ago. He's like, I was talking about Sasha Banks or something. And this dipshit's like, video starts at 9 minutes and 15 seconds after the Sasha rant. I'm like, who the fuck are you Are you new to the channel? My unit wants to hear all of what I got to say. All of my rants, all of my discussions, all of my topics. This motherfucker thought he was a hot shot. Coming onto my channel and he was like, video starts at 9:15 if you want to hear the Sasha rant. Fuck you, bitch. Back the fuck out of you. What the fuck? Fuck out of IBS, motherfucker. Fuck out of IBS, motherfucker. I'm just playing. No, for real. IBS, motherfucker. You come onto my fucking channel, and tell me about a timestamp? I'll fucking stamp you with a tattoo, motherfucker. Anyway, let's get the shakeup going. 10 superstars from SmackDown over to Raw. 10 superstars from Raw over to SmackDown. First, let's calm down, though. We gotta do this fucking... Can't be... Go up, motherfucker! What is up with this collar? Alright. You guys ready? Shake-up time. So, I'm going to start off with the first 5 out of 10. These are 10 superstars that are going from Raw to SmackDown. I'm going to start out with the first 5 heels. So, I'm going to have 5 heels, 5 faces. And the first superstar I would have going from Raw to SmackDown, the first heel, is The Miz. Straight out and simple. The Miz has to go back to SmackDown because The Miz just is so much better on SmackDown. It's just, you know, some people are more comfortable. Some people just get more time, better segments, better positioning on one brand over the other. You can tell that The Miz is just more comfortable and he's just better on SmackDown. Yes, he's been in good segments and good people he's worked with, but that's what I mean. I think that's where his confidence really comes out, and I think he's more freer to be himself, more comfortable. The segments he's had with Daniel Bryan, I mean, those were headline news segments. They were all over the internet the next day. The promos and the matches with Dolph Ziggler, that was all SmackDown, just like Daniel Bryan. I just feel Miz's segments, the best of the Miz's work has always been on SmackDown. I feel Miz needs to go back home and start anew, start afresh on SmackDown and create more big-time memories, not just for him, but for SmackDown. Number 2, big-time heel that needs to go over from Raw to SmackDown, and that is Samoa Joe. I know, BC, Samoa Joe is starting a big feud with Roman Reigns over on Raw, though, so there's no way he's going to. Well, first of all, again, these aren't predictions. This is just if I was booking the shakeup, what 10 superstars would I fly over to SmackDown, and which 10 SmackDown stars would I fly over to Raw for the next year? So this is my booking, and how I would book Samoa Joe. First of all, I feel he would shine much better on SmackDown. Raw has tried him out twice. The first time, it just kind of fell flat, and his booking kind of went awry. The second time Samoa Joe started to gain some momentum, he then got injured. This is the third time. On a 3-hour show, I just feel like a lot of these top stars will get lost in the shuffle, and we've already seen Samoa Joe kind of led that way in the past. I have no doubt in my mind that after this whole Roman Reigns feud, they're not going to know where to go with Samoa Joe. So my way of thinking is, this feud already got jump-started. And now that the shakeup is happening after the feud got jump-started, you have an out. You could literally start this feud as you already did, but then the shakeup happens where Vince McMahon said nobody is off limits. Whether you're in a feud or not, he's talking champions, anything, nobody's off limits. So Samoa Joe gets shooken up over to SmackDown, And this would lead a huge, awesome storyline to develop. But wait, he's in this heavyweight championship feud with Roman Reigns, but he's also now on Smackdown. There's the story. What is going to happen? Is Samoa, because we fully expect Roman Reigns to get the championship from Brock Lesnar April 27th at the Greatest Royal Rumble event. And then after Roman Reigns gets the championship from Brock Lesnar, then the Samoa Joe Roman Reigns feud really kicks into high gear. So what happens when Samoa Joe gets that championship if, right? That's the big question. Obviously, he's not going to. Vince McMahon is not going to have Roman Reigns drop the championship to Samoa Joe. But that would be the awesome storyline. This new SmackDown brute star, Samoa Joe, has already been booked in a match with Roman Reigns at Backlash. What happens if Samoa Joe actually wins the Universal Championship from Roman Reigns? Is Samoa Joe taking that shit to SmackDown? SmackDown would now have the Universal Championship? That could be the storyline. He is a Smackdown superstar now. He's been shooken up over to there, but he was already booked in the Backlash match. That's fun. That's intriguing. And again, no harm, no foul. When it's all said and done, Samoa Joe doesn't actually beat Roman Reigns. But he's playing the best of both worlds. He's playing both sides. He's on the head Monday Night Raw match over at Backlash, but he's also a Smackdown superstar, and he could be causing trouble over there too, simultaneously. He shows up on Mondays, and he's showing up on Tuesdays for a couple of months. Badass. And again, this is all because Samoa Joe, I feel, is going to shine the brightest. Be the brute that he was meant to be. The top shining heel over on SmackDown. The feuds he would have with AJ Styles and such, fucking awesome, man. And that's where I think he deserves to be. AJ Styles, champion. I don't see him going over to Monday Night Raw, obviously, and we've heard all the fucking gossip of AJ Styles is going over to Monday Night Raw. I don't feel AJ Styles should be going over to Monday Night Raw because AJ Styles, the house that he built is what? SmackDown. So why would you take the guy whose big claim to fame is, for WWE, his big motto is, if this is the house that AJ Styles built, is SmackDown Live. So let's bring him over to Raw. Let's have him leave his house. No, he's got a lot of unfinished business over there in his house, and Samoa Joe could be a big piece of that business. And they could headline main events at pay-per-views for a couple of months straight. Third, Raw superstar, heel, to go over to SmackDown. Another big brute could work hand in hand, not as a tag team, but hand in hand as your second in command for big badass heel brutes. And that's Big Cass. When Cass finally comes back to WWE, he's listed as a Raw superstar. He should be listed as a SmackDown superstar. Big Cass. Just like Miz and Samoa Joe could make the biggest splash in SmackDown. Over in SmackDown, man. You could put him mid-card. You could put him in main events. He's gonna shine the brightest over in SmackDown. Whereas on Monday Night Raw, again, lost in the shuffle. I just see him being fallen into obscurity over there, unless they can really trigger him into some awesome storylines. The problem is, neither Vince McMahon or Raw's creative staff has shown me they can create a bunch of cool storylines at once. So you have to put some cool shit into the Intercontinental title, some cool shit into the Universal title, the tag titles. You hope to have some cool storylines and shit as such. What makes you think they're just going to have something for Big Cass? We hope. But what I would do, send him over to SmackDown. We're really going to shuffle this up. We're really going to have this be a shake-up. Shake it up the right way. Samoa Joe, Big Cass, Miz, and I'm not done. The fourth big heel to go over from Raw to SmackDown, Elias. That's right, fucking Elias, man. And I see Elias working perfectly, absolutely perfectly in the mid-card to start off, but owning that shit. I would see somebody like Rusev ultimately beating Jinder Mahal for the United States Championship, and you could start off something really epic with Rusev and Elias. Because Elias over on Monday Night Raw so far has just been a joke. He's the joke to John Cena in a squash, not even a match, just a squash beating at WrestleMania. And then the very next night, he's just doing a squash job to Bobby Lashley. He's obviously just Vince McMahon's squash clown over on Raw. But Elias has so much more to offer Let's bring him over to SmackDown, the land of opportunity, and let's give him that opportunity. The Macho Man Randy Savage, before he was fighting Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 5, Randy Savage was taking on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, before he was the fucking Ultimate Dragon, but Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3 for the Intercontinental Championship. So this is far from a demotion for Elias. You can't just catapult Elias. He's a joke on Raw. He goes over to SmackDown and he's automatically in main events. No. Let's start him off slowly but smoothly and surely. An awesome feud with Rusev. Maybe ultimately he even wins the United States Championship from Rusev. And then in the future, you build up the man to where we give a shit enough to start putting him in main events. SmackDown is the place to do this for Elias. Those are 4 badass heels on Raw that would actually be portrayed as the badass heels they are over on SmackDown. And they would have the most epic success on SmackDown. I doubt very much either of them would fall into obscurity. I think they would all be put in just the most dramatic, badass storylines possible for WWE creative. Because SmackDown's creative isn't that much better than Raw. But it is most of the time better because it is a 2-hour show. So you can invest a lot more and get a lot more of the attention span from your audience. I feel Miz, Samoa Joe, Big Cass, Elias on SmackDown, that is a true shakeup. Now, I know you're saying, BC, there's a 5th heel, right? That you put from Raw to SmackDown? Yes, there is. This one is a little bit more of a joke job. This is Jason Jordan. Why would I take Jason Jordan off of Raw and put him back on SmackDown where he originally started with Gable? Well, because you just don't want to see him on the same brand as Roman Reigns. Because it's bad enough that most of the audience just gets nauseous with Roman Reigns as it is, but that same audience gets nauseous when Jason Jordan was on their screen. So to have 2 of these nauseating, again, this isn't just me. This isn't my personal opinion on this. This is just gauging the audience as a whole. Jason Jordan kind of gets that same reaction of a Roman Reigns. And 2 of that reactions on the same brand, on the same night, on one show, that's a little much to handle. Let SmackDown get one of these nauseating characters. Jason Jordan goes over to SmackDown. Those are your 5 heels that I would bring right over from Raw to SmackDown and have it really truly be a shakeup. Now on to the top 5 faces that I would send from Raw to SmackDown. And we begin with a really big-time name for the females. And that big-time name is Asuka. I would take Asuka from Raw, bring her over to SmackDown. She's ran the gauntlet over there on Monday Night Raw. Nothing else to really prove over there, right? I mean, that's kind of... The whole thing with Asuka was that she challenged Charlotte over on SmackDown. You thought she was going to capture that championship, and then she was going to stay over on SmackDown, and you thought of all the cool possibilities, and you thought of Asuka on SmackDown, and you thought, wow, she's going to be more badass than she was on Raw. But then that didn't come to fruition. But not to worry, this shakeup is a good opportunity to bring her where she rightfully belongs, because I feel Asuka is going to shine the brightest. I know that's the key phrase here for SmackDown, but it's true. When you have 2 hours, you have 8 segments. Your superstars that you're putting in one of those 8 segment slots, they're going to shine so much brighter. You're going to have the attention span of your audience in a much bigger, brighter fashion. And Asuka is really going to go to the forefront, especially if you have her inserted in the feud that I would put her in, which is with Peyton Royce and Billie Kay right from the beginning. The 2 bullies, they played those characters so well in NXT, did Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. The Iconics, that's their name now. It's no longer going to be the Iconic Duo because of trademark issues. So unless WWE can work through those trademark issues and solve those problems, they're going to be known as the Iconics going forward. Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, bullying around and in some weeks destroying Asuka, building up that story. I just think that would be the best place right now for Asuka. Start gaining her traction back from that huge WrestleMania loss. Peyton Royce, Billie Kay start making a name for themselves to the casual audience at the expense of Asuka up front. but Asuka will have an ultimate payoff down the road. And this is a good way to also insert Naomi. Continue her streak of momentum and have her involved in a meaningful story. Now, yes, I hate tag team matches, but this isn't going to be a six tag schmaz for the women. No, this will be a meaningful tag match when they ultimately have their match at SummerSlam is where I would put this. Asuka finds an ally in Naomi. And this ultimately leads to SummerSlam, because at SummerSlam, you're going to have the Raw Women's Championship match. You're going to have the Smackdown Women's Championship match. I wouldn't put Asuka there up front. I would have Asuka still battling the Iconics. And she finds an ally in Naomi, and it's going to be a huge tag match with Asuka and Naomi taking on the Iconics. So even though you have these two huge women championship matches at SummerSlam, you have this awesome badass tag match. I would make this no holds barred, or a falls count anywhere, or a tornado tag last women standing match. Think about that. A tornado last women standing match. All 4 participants, the last woman standing wins the match for their team. You could do some cool shit with this, ultimately leading to the ultimate payoff at SummerSlam. But that's where I would put Asuka. Really start to build her up again. The second huge face that I would take from Raw and bring her over to SmackDown is also a big name for the females, and my all-time favorite, so you know who this is, and that is Sasha Banks. And Sasha Banks, we waste no time. She is going right after that SmackDown Women's Championship. And at SummerSlam in Brooklyn, she captures that motherfucker. Finally. As a face, she didn't turn no heel, no. Carmella plays that role just fine. You saw the way she was instigating and bragging to Charlotte after she beat Charlotte for that championship Tuesday night. That kind of bragging and antagonizing, that's what makes Carmella such a good heel when she's on her game, when she's got that A-time slot. That's what she got Tuesday night. I see her getting that slot going forward. I feel Sasha Banks is going to be the ultimate nemesis for Carmella and vice versa. And ultimately, Sasha Banks gets that championship at SummerSlam. But soon thereafter, I want Asuka to come after that championship. Face versus face at the moment, right? But that's where I want the real heel turn for Sasha Banks to finally happen. It never happened with Bayley, even though we really wanted it. But now she's back home where she feels more comfortable, where she's the best. SmackDown. Now she's got the championship. I want Sasha Banks to turn heel during this Asuka feud. I know I'm really booking into the future, but I'm telling you guys why I'm booking the superstars I'm booking for the Shakeup, and why I have them going to the other brand. I'm not just picking names, I'm giving you guys actual scenarios of why I would book it this way. Sasha Banks turns heel in the Asuka feud. And this is, I want the story to be told beautifully, where Sasha Banks' character has always been, I believe in myself to the point where I know I am the best female wrestler. Like, I just know that. I'm conceited for a reason. I'm an asshole for a reason. I know I'm the best. And I want that to really come out with the Carmella feud when she wins the championship. But then when she starts the Asuka feud, that's where I want her to look at Asuka and go, this is a bad bitch. She's badass. And I want you to I want Sasha to really start questioning herself. Her confidence is a little shook. Can I really beat Asuka on a big stage? And then she starts going to her dastardly tricks and doesn't even give a shit not only what her peers think, but what the crowd thinks. And she starts fucking with Asuka. And that's where she turns heel. And ultimately at Survivor Series, you have the champion Sasha taking on Asuka. And in that match, I hate to do flip-flop here. I hate when titles flip-flop because then when they actually need to, it's not as meaningful. But sometimes you need flip-flopping for the titles to tell the story. This is one of those. At Survivor Series, Asuka defeats Sasha Banks for the Women's Championship over on SmackDown. A huge Survivor Series match for the women on SmackDown. And Asuka takes it from Sasha. But Sasha invokes her rematch at another huge stage, the Royal Rumble event. That's where Sasha wants to reclaim her top prize on another huge pay-per-view. And in the second match between the two, Sasha Banks defeats Asuka, reclaims her championship. They went 1-for-1 at two of the biggest events of the year for WWE. Survivor Series, Asuka got it. Royal Rumble, Sasha got it back. It's 1-1. We need one more defining match between these two elites to see who is the best. And they face each other in the third match, ultimately at WrestleMania 35. Because Charlotte is already taking the spot with Ronda Rousey. We already know that. Charlotte and Rousey are going to take up the Raw Championship. So the SmackDown Championship, it ain't going to be no consolation prize. It's not going to be a B-level match because Ronda and Charlotte are going to steal the show. No, let's put SmackDown's Women's Championship match right up there with that. Sasha Banks, Asuka. A 30-minute Iron Women match. When it's all said and done, who is the last one standing with the most pinfalls or submissions? They would be the ultimate elitist. Who would I have win? That's for amplified booking in the future if that was to ever happen. I wouldn't tell you right now. But that is epic, beautiful storytelling going forward. I just booked Sasha Banks' whole next year out. And Asuka's. I ain't just naming names, guys. The Amplified man is one creative son of a bitch. I would put names on a show, and I would strap the rockets to their back, and I would watch those motherfuckers soar to the heights where there are no limits. The third huge Monday Night Raw face that I would have going over the SmackDown is a huge male talent, and he is Finn Balor. Finn Balor has done all he can over on Monday Night Raw, or at least he's reached the ceiling that Vince McMahon is allowing him to reach. How much more can you go? He's not going to get the championship from Roman Reigns. Vince would never let that happen. Or from Brock originally, and then when Roman Reigns gets it on the 27th. I don't see Finn Balor taking it from him. I don't see Finn Balor being the one to take it from Seth Rollins. Then again, you could have Vince McMahon doing unnecessary flip-flopping between the two. I feel Finn Balor could really start to make his name known to everybody and put himself on the pedestal where he knows and we know he belongs over on SmackDown. That's where his identity can really shine the brightest. And I feel a Finn Balor versus AJ Styles feud for at least a couple of months would be so refreshing, not to mention an actual wrestling matches for the ages between these two. From what I saw with Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, I'm thinking now Finn Balor and AJ Styles would be 10 times better than that shit. Even though I still am looking forward to heel Nakamura and AJ Styles in the future. The thought of Finn Balor and AJ Styles over on SmackDown, heading their brand in main events, goosebumps, man. And you could do so much with Finn Balor over on SmackDown. And again, the light would be shined, the spotlight would be shined on Finn Balor way more than it ever was on Monday Night Raw. Those 3 hours on Monday Night Raw for a guy like Finn Balor, that booking could basically put you in obscurity. The 2 hours on SmackDown, they could pluck you out of obscurity and thrust you into that spotlight. Finn Balor, I know this is the word of the night, but he could literally shine the brightest over there. Number 4. This is a huge one. You guys would be like, really? You would split them up already? Bray Wyatt would be a face, right? A newly crowned face on Monday Night Raw. Bray Wyatt, newly woken Wyatt, the Wyatt of Brays. He is the one that I would put over there without question, because putting Bray Wyatt back over on SmackDown with this new woken character, because I would let him keep that, you could now have the woken character on both brands. It's such an epic character, and people have a lot of fun. Fans have a lot of fun with that character. Why limit it to one brand? Let's have Matt Hardy remain with that Woken universe over on Raw, and let's have Bray Wyatt initiate the new Woken universe over on SmackDown. So you have the Woken language, the whole Woken universe and movements, and the Woken world is now on Raw and SmackDown. You could even have Matt Hardy pluck somebody else to be with him. Bray Wyatt could have somebody else over on SmackDown to be with him. But I do not feel like Bray Wyatt is a follower. Matt Hardy is obviously the leader of the Woken universe, but when those two are together, it's clear that Bray Wyatt is the follower. Bray Wyatt is a natural-born leader, so Bray Wyatt needs to be a leader. So he could be leading that Woken universe over on SmackDown. Matt Hardy leads it over on Raw. And down the road, down the line, you could create so many awesome epic storylines between the two brands and between the two Woken universes. And nobody's got to be following the other. I would totally introduce the Woken universe over on SmackDown and have this weird Woken world on both brands. So fans get to enjoy it on both brands. Goosebumps, man. I mean, I could just do so much if I was booking this shit. The fifth name for the faces to go from Raw over to SmackDown. This is a throwaway just like Jason Jordan was for the heels for Raw. This is No Way Jose. And the reason I picked No Way Jose is because we already know he's going to die an instant death over on Monday Night Raw. That character is going to flop even more hardcore than Adam Rose's character. So by putting him over to SmackDown Live, I would first take away his Congo line and his goofiness, and I would make him like a Razor Ramon type character. Yes, Carlito was kind of like that, and Carlito would have been epic if booking didn't steer him wrong. Booking started literally putting him into obscurity every week. Carlito had a chance to survive if booking would have gotten behind him. That Carlito character was starting to get over when he originally debuted. But that Razor Ramon type character, and I'm talking, remember all those vignettes when Razor Ramon first debuted, like right before the first ever Monday Night Raw? That's the Razor Ramon type character I think No Way Jose can portray and pull off. He needs to be a heel. He needs to be taken seriously. And the only way to do that is to take him away from this joke clown type character that Raw has portrayed him as. NXT first of all, and then Raw fucking welcomed him with open arms, conga line and all. He needs to be taken out of that clown type character, and he needs to be put over on SmackDown, and he needs us to be intrigued by that character. SmackDown is the only brand that's going to give that character that much needed attention to detail that that character could really use more than anybody over on Raw. I mean, Heath Slater and Rhino would be more intriguing than No Way Jose, and that's saying something. That's not a good thing. No Way Jose, we need to make, if he's going to die anyway on Raw or SmackDown, that character's going to die anyway. Let's make this as painless as possible. Let's at least try to give him a chance at survival, this character. And again, the only way to do that is to just turn him totally fucking heel. And say, you know, before it's too late. Adam Rose tried to go heel, but by that point, it was way too late. We all saw him too many times with that goofy party train that he came out with. And before he turned heel, literally nobody gave a fuck about Adam Rose. 1 month, 2 months tops, 1 month of this No Way Jose character, it could be 1 month too long. That'll be it for the Raw personnel, the Raw talent going over to SmackDown. Those are the 10 names, the 5 heels and the 5 faces that I would have going from Raw to SmackDown. Now, we do the 5 heels and 5 faces, 10 superstars in all of SmackDown that I would have going over to Monday Night Raw. We begin again with the heels, and a pretty damn big one at that. A big name for the heels over on SmackDown over to Raw. The first name is Chris Jericho. Now, I know we haven't seen him in a long time. He is coming back to take on, as I said earlier in this video, The Undertaker casket match. And that is going to be at the greatest Royal Rumble ever, April 27th. But regardless, he is listed as a SmackDown superstar. If you look at the listings, he is still listed as a SmackDown star. And that should not be when he comes back. Because again, SmackDown is a 2-hour show that really needs to be focused on the actual storylines at hand. I think Chris Jericho works much better on a 3-hour platform. 3 hours, you could have your comedy, you could have your serious storylines, you could have your superstars, you could have your up-and-comers, you have a little bit of everything, and on top of that, you have your part-timers. I love part-timers, there's just a place and a time for them, and I think Monday Night Raw suits that best. Chris Jericho would be much suited for himself and for the company over on Monday Night Raw. So I think that's a no-brainer. Chris Jericho moves over to Raw when he does come back. Full part-time. The second big name, and it is a big name, second heel for SmackDown going over to Monday Night Raw. And that is, it's a big name for me, not for you guys. But for me because I've been saying this for a long time. And that's Chad Gable. Enough with this Shelton Benjamin tag team. This was always just American Alpha 2.0. That's all that was. In fact, to me, it was negative 2.0. Gable needs to shine on his own. We saw it a little bit when Jason Jordan went over to Raw originally, and Gable was on his own for a little bit, and then Shelton Benjamin ended up coming, and that was the end of Gable's Smackdown career, I assure you, because they've been in obscurity since. Gable was starting to get some momentum and steam. Now, you have him start fresh. It's a superstar shakeup. Goodbye, Shelton Benjamin. You can stay on SmackDown. You could, fucking dribble in your own obscurity. That's fine. Do not drag down Chad Gable with you. Chad Gable goes over to Monday Night Raw. Chad Gable makes a name for himself. Totally in the mid-card at first. I'm not saying give this guy main event status up front. Let him show everybody what he can do, which is phenomenal shit. What he did in NXT, what he did for those little bit of weeks that he did it over in SmackDown on his own, singly. This guy can go in that ring, man. He is fun to watch. He ultimately should have been Kurt Angle's son in that storyline if you were going to put somebody as the son. Chad Gable. Start fresh, start new, and start to shine over there on Monday Night Raw. I don't need to say anything else about that, man. And I would make him, I don't even see why you would keep him a heel. Bring him over there as a face, because this guy will get cheered on his ability alone. The third name I would have over on SmackDown for the heels going over to Monday Night Raw is one of their women, Ruby Riott. Riot Squad is no more. We've already seen every type of 6-women tag you can anyway with that Riot Squad. It's over. Ruby Riott goes over to Monday Night Raw, and I want Ruby Riott going right into a feud. Big time. Hello, Monday Night Raw. Hello, WWE Universe and casual fans of Monday Night Raw. I'm going after Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, Ruby Riott up front. Now, the ultimate payoff is going to have Ronda Rousey destroying Ruby Riott at the pay-per-view. Which pay-per-view? You could take your fucking pick. Probably not Backlash. Maybe the dual-branded pay-per-view after that. Maybe it culminates at SummerSlam. That's fine. But I don't see Ronda Rousey going for the championship this whole next year. She's getting such a great fan reaction. I don't think anybody expected this. Everyone thought she was going to get a lot of boos. They were going to harass her and say that she doesn't belong. And all, just a bunch of bullshit. But instead, she's actually getting cheered because people are seeing she is fucking great in that ring. She is a natural. She did dedicate her time and efforts to this business already. And that she's only going to keep getting better. So the fan reaction is so good. Why throw a title on her already and even get remotely some of the fans to be like, see, they're already treating her like this fucking specialty novelty act. When she actually is anyway, whether you like it or not, and she should be. She deserves to be that. But why even get fans to even remotely turn on her? Have Ronda Rousey continue to prove herself this whole next year, culminating at WrestleMania 35. So I would have Ronda Rousey's first victim be Ruby Riott. And I know you're thinking, but BC, fucking Ruby Riott starts fresh on Monday Night Raw and you're already having her lose? Absolutely, because guys, sometimes there is victory in defeat. Sometimes there is success in failure. And I'm not going to explain myself. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then hopefully you gain more life lessons in the future. Because clearly you haven't lived fully yet. You haven't lived a full life yet if you don't know what I'm talking about. But for those people that do know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. There is sometimes victory in failure. There is sometimes success in defeat, and vice versa. Success in failure and victory in defeat, man. And this is one of those times. Ruby Riott is on the main stage with Ronda fucking Rousey. The media attention that Ruby Riott would get for that feud alone would be more than she's ever gotten. In the feud leading up to it, Ruby Riott could be involved in an epic storyline with Ronda Rousey if creative would really get behind her and give her some good shit to work with, because we know Ruby Riott is good on the microphone, but we also know Ruby Riott's got the skill in the ring. Put the story behind her and watch that motherfucker rise to the occasion. And in the ultimate payoff, Ronda Rousey obviously wins this motherfucker, but Ruby Riott would have shown the world who the fuck she is. And going forward, Ruby Riott would be a force. More than what she's doing right now on SmackDown, guys. That's how I would book Ruby Riott, man. You guys know I'm a big Ruby Riott fan. So I have no problem with her being the first to do the deed singly against Ronda Rousey. And this would bring so much attention to her. And again, I do not have Ronda Rousey going for that strap until next year. The 4th and 5th, this is going to kind of be a duo for the top heels that I would have going over to Monday Night Raw from SmackDown. And even though they're fired right now, so they're not officially, I mean, they're still part, but storyline-wise, they're fired. That's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So I'm really cheating here. There's 6 names that I'm bringing over from the heels from SmackDown to Raw. Because Owens and Zayn are going to continue to be a pair, at least at first. I would have their home be Monday Night Raw. And I would have them forming a really badass stable, a faction with Gallows and Anderson, a newly formed but badass club. You can name it something different if you want, but I want this club to be vicious. Not some cheap knockoff version with Finn Balor like we're seeing now. No, let's form something really badass, man. Sami Zayn, heel Owens, and heel Gallows and Anderson. A badass stable. When's the last time we saw something like the Four Horsemen or something like Evolution? You know, NWO-esque, where this stable, this badass faction is beating the shit out of everybody. Not just in the ring, but backstage, in the parking lot. I want that back, man. Monday Night Raw is 3 hours. We need to start finding unique, entertaining ways to entertain the fans. There's a concept. Unique, original ideas. Take us away from the ring for some segments during Monday Night Raw. Everything doesn't have to be right there in the ring. Take us out of the ring. Let's have some cool shit happening backstage. Some cool shit in the parking lot. A cool faction would be that way to do that, man. And I think Gallows, Anderson, Zayn, Owens. Badass. Those are the 5 heels that I would bring over from SmackDown over to Raw to make a true impact, a true power statement. Now we go for the faces. The 5 faces that I would have for SmackDown going over to Monday Night Raw. And I want to start off with Randy Orton. Randy Orton's done everything he's going to do over on SmackDown Live. I think we all can agree he's actually gotten very stale. He's been stale. Maybe he's even gotten more stale since winning the United States Championship. Who knows? I have him going to Raw, starting fresh, starting new, even if it's just his last badass run. Remember that stable I just talked about? Zayn, Owens, Gallows, Anderson? I have their first victim being Randy Orton. But this storyline should be so epic that Randy Orton is not letting go lightly on this. He's not just going to roll over and die for this new stable, this new club. No, I want the Viper to be attacking in those segments that I just said a minute or two ago. Backstage, in the parking lot. Where for weeks, this stable is getting the best of Randy Orton. And then all of a sudden, 1 week, Kevin Owens and Zayn are leaving the arena. Sami Zayn is kind of a little behind Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn's like, oh, I forgot something. I'll be right with you. And Owens is like, all right, I'll be at the car. Kevin Owens exits the backstage area. He's in the parking lot. Wham! Out of nowhere. RKO. Randy Orton drops Kevin Owens in the fucking parking lot near his car. Car door's still open. Maybe the thing's still fucking beeping because the door's open. Really dramatic. And when Zayn catches up to Owens at the car, he sees fucking Owens is knocked out. Flat. And Zayn is like, what the fuck happened? And I can't say what the fuck. I mean, it's so PG. But Sami Zayn is wondering what happened. He's looking all around cautiously. He's trying to wake up Kevin Owens. Randy Orton is nowhere to be found. The next week, maybe Sami Zayn gets it backstage somewhere. You gotta look behind your back. For weeks, the stable has been getting the best of Orton because it was 4-on-1. But now the Viper truly transformed into the Viper of old. And he's getting motherfuckers one by one. And this all culminates at SummerSlam in some type of match. And maybe Randy Orton has backup. You could do so many cool things with this. And what you did is you just reinvigorated Randy Orton. You rejuvenated his career. You put a shot into Randy Orton's career. A shot of life. That's a storyline I could be invested with. And you don't even have to put a championship into that. That story doesn't even take up your IC championship picture, your tag team championship picture, or your universal championship picture. That is a storyline that is epic, that we're all intrigued into, we're all invested, and it doesn't even take up a title. All it takes is common fucking sense with some creativity. And simplistic booking. And you can have some fun shit. Randy Orton would be the first face from SmackDown to go over to Raw. Second one I would have, Big E. That's right, Big fucking E. Remember I told you guys I would break up the Woken Wyatts there with fucking Woken Wyatts, Woken Hardy, Woken Wyatt. I would have a Woken Hardy on Raw, and I'd have Woken Wyatt on SmackDown. Best of both worlds. Fans get to see the Woken universe on Raw. They get to see the Woken universe on SmackDown. Same thing with the New Day. Why just have it to one brand? And not only that, we've already seen everything the New Day can do as a trio. At what point are you going to break them up a little bit? Let Big E shine on his own. This is the perfect way. You get the New Day in some form or facet still over on SmackDown. Kofi and Xavier will still be this team, this unit, this tandem. But over on Raw, you would have Big E on his own. So you still have the New Day music. Everyone's singing along to it and having fun. You still have the fucking bootios. You still got the unicorns, the pancakes on SmackDown. And you have all that shit on Raw. You get the best of both worlds on SmackDown and Raw. And in the future, they can always do cool shit together when SmackDown and Raw get together. Like pay-per-views. They're dual branded now. So it'll be really cool when they all get together, the New Day. All three of them. And it'll be fun and exciting and fucking refreshing. For now, why not let Big E? Let's see what he's really fucking got. And he still carries that New Day flag with him over to Monday Night Raw. Randy Orton, Big E, the first two. The third name is actually a duo. It's a tandem. And that's going to be Tyler Breeze, Fandango. I know, BC. Those names really... They've gotten as stale as they're going to fucking get over. They were so hot on SmackDown. And just for being a comedy act, that doesn't always work. But for Fandango and Tyler Breeze, the Fashion Police, it actually worked for a long time. And then they just got stale. And then all of a sudden, their backstage segments got really lame, bad, stale, pathetic, actually. They've done all they could over on SmackDown. I feel a 3-hour show, Monday Night Raw, that's the place for them to really shine. If you're going to use them as a comedy act, Monday Night Raw is the place for it. You have 3 hours where a lot of fans, they start losing, their attention span starts getting lost. Tyler Breeze and Fandango could be that spot where they kind of rejuvenate a large portion of the crowd again. Or you could make them an actual fucking wrestling act. There's an idea. Maybe they're not a comedy act and they start on Raw fresh and new as actual wrestlers. Again, there's a concept. But I love their comedy as well. So Raw would be the place. That 3-hour format, if you're going to have a comedy act, that's where it's going to be. People like No Way Jose, that's not comedy acts that fans are going to really invest into. But Fandango and Tyler Breeze, that's an act we could kind of get into. We could have a good laugh at. We could kind of want to watch. Even over several segments of a storyline in one 3-hour program. Tyler Breeze and Fandango can actually get our attention back. And that's what you lose sometimes in a 3-hour Monday Night Raw. So I would have Tyler Breeze and Fandango because you have nothing to lose. What are they doing right now on SmackDown? Bring them over the Raw, man. So again, my number 3 spot is a tandem. Tyler Breeze and Fandango. They count as one in my book. Number 4. You ready for this one? Charlotte. Charlotte Flair. You guys knew this was coming because I brought Asuka and Sasha over to SmackDown. One of the big wigs has to go over to Monday Night Raw, and that is Charlotte. Now, I have Ronda Rousey not going for the championship, right? I have her going with Ruby Riott first, and then she's going to battle with Alexa down the line, Mickie James, and the rest of Absolution. But what I have is Charlotte, speaking of Absolution, they're still going to kind of fuck around with Bayley. Even though they ain't got Paige anymore. They're going to fuck around Bayley. It's still 2-1. And what I want is fucking Charlotte. And this is what I want. I don't know. I'm struggling with, do I have Charlotte come in as Bayley's friend and take out Absolution and eventually turn on Bayley and go after Nia Jax's championship? Because again, I don't have Ronda Rousey going for that. So it has to be Charlotte. But I struggle with how I want that to happen. Do we do a little segment with Bayley and kind of up Bayley a little bit? Because Bayley could use a shot in the arm too. A shot of adrenaline for her career. Do we get the rub from Charlotte and put it on Bayley a little bit and take out Absolution totally? And then ultimately maybe Charlotte turns on Bayley like, you know what? I'm done with this hugging shit. I've already taken my eye off the ball once over on SmackDown and it cost me the championship. I reached a level of success that I started thinking more about the people and not letting you guys down. And I took my eye off the fucking ball when all I gotta worry about is myself. I know I'm the fucking best. I no longer want to worry about you guys, and I don't care about you guys anymore. And friends, fans, you're one of the same. And Bayley goes around hugging everybody and laughing and smiling like this is fucking a preschool tea party at lunch. No, not anymore. Charlotte turns on Bayley. The dastardly deed is done. Charlotte becomes a true heel, which I said all along, Charlotte is best at anyway. And that, because you already made Nia Jax a fucking face for some reason. So now Nia Jax is a face, so you gotta have the dastardly heel take that strap off her. I pick SummerSlam. I pick Charlotte. Whether you want Charlotte to automatically, when she gets to Raw, go after Nia Jax, or whether you want to do the slow heel turn with Bayley, I'm down with either one. But Charlotte has to be over there. And she's got to be the one to take the strap from Nia Jax. I know WWE is probably going to go Ronda Rousey taking it from Jax, but again, I have Rousey the whole year not being a champion. That's only going to raise her respect level from the fans 10 times more. Charlotte, as a heel, taking that strap in Brooklyn, New York at SummerSlam from Nia Jax. Book that shit, Vince, because I just did. The fifth name I would have for the faces from SmackDown going over to Monday Night Raw, Daniel Bryan. It's a huge name. Because I already got Finn Balor going over with AJ Styles. So SmackDown's 1 and 2, they're good. They're good to go. Daniel Bryan's your top star. I'm going to sacrifice the AJ Styles-Daniel Bryan match because I think we'll get it eventually, but it's not going to be in the next calendar year. We got the little bit of a tease this past Tuesday, and I think that's because they know either AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan is going over to Raw. I think it has to be Daniel Bryan because AJ Styles is a champion. It's going to be hard to do that. So I think that's why we got the little bit of a tease. And in the future, you might see Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles again. Again, I hope we do. But I'm willing to sacrifice the Shinsuke Nakamura Daniel Bryan match as well. Because we need Daniel Bryan on Monday Night Raw. Daniel Bryan's your true fucking face of this company. We all know that. When the steroid case came up against Roman Reigns, or the rumors anyway, big news outlets were barely picking up on it. When Daniel Bryan announced that he was coming back to wrestle, that was on every single media outlet you can think of. It took over the fucking world. Not just professional wrestling's world. That shows you how big Daniel Bryan is in the wrestling community and the fan admiration for him. He's your face. Your 3-hour flagship program has been going on for a couple of years now with Roman Reigns. Your face is being booed by 80% of your fan population. That shit's gotta stop. It's a 3-hour flagship program. Put the real fucking face on the program. And my booking for the Shakeup, Daniel Bryan is going in his rightful place to take his top spot over on Monday Night Raw. And if Vince McMahon could one day put his ego aside, Roman Reigns drops the championship to Daniel Bryan? Goosebumps, motherfucker. Whether that's wishful thinking or reality one day, that's how I'm booking my Shakeup. Daniel Bryan goes over to Monday Night Raw. And that's the 5 faces that I would have from SmackDown over to Raw. That's it, guys. That's the 10 names that I have from SmackDown going over to Raw and the 10 names I have from Raw going over to SmackDown and vice versa in every which way. Exciting, right? How are they really going to do this? We got to find out Monday and Tuesday. I think it's really going to be a shakeup. I really do think Vince McMahon, he's already lost most of his marbles, right? I mean that in a fun way. We love Vince McMahon, even though at times we want to fucking shake him, because what are you doing? But none of this is even possible, WWE, without Vince McMahon. So we do deep down love the motherfucker, but I really do believe he's going to shake everything up. He's just going to fuck with everybody. So I expect some big names to be switching. But how about you guys, man? I got comments down below. They're there for a reason. Speak your mind, man. What names, it doesn't have to be 10 and 10, but what are some of your names that you see going over to SmackDown, or that you would like to see go to SmackDown? Names you would like to see go over to Monday Night Raw. Drop it down below. When I'm getting my coffees, I love reading what you guys got to say. You know that. And I'm going to fucking bow out now, man. This video went long enough. I've spoken enough. I'll see you guys. Maybe I'll have an impromptu video tomorrow. If not, definitely I'll see you guys next week. Where we go into the Shakeup, man. Amplified, man. Cashing the fuck out. B motherfucking C. Check you later.